Well, hey YouTube, it's Elvis Ammo here. Hey, today I wanted to do a comparison, and I'll call this the best of 3 cheapo digital scales. You know, this is a subject that for sure we are all interested in, and I'd been meaning to do a video on this type of subject, and now I have a good reason to do it. Let me give you a good look at the scales on the menu. Give you a good look at them. There they are right there. We've got the Frankfurt Arsenal. We've got the Lyman. And then we've got the Way-Owl. Way-Owl. Alright, there they are. There's a good look at them. And so this is one of the scales. This scale in particular is really the reason that I'm doing this comparison. This Way-Owl scale, I put the name on it because it don't say it on it anywhere else like the Lyman does or the Frankfurt Arsenal does. So after using, well, first place I seen this scale was Johnny's Reloading Bench. Done a review on this scale, and then he really couldn't stop talking about it. On all his videos, he's always mentioning this scale right here, and I was like, okay, I'm game. I'm gonna buy one. Under $20, you can get this scale, and you know, these you can get for close, you know, $25, maybe $30, $25, $30. This one you can get for $20 on Amazon, or you know, depending on the day where you find it at on there, might find it for less. And this is the reason I wanted to do the video, is because I'd been using this for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I hate to say it, you know, it's kind of shameless, but you know, it's just an old cheapo scale, and you know, it's just very lightweight. It's, you know, not very well constructed, you know, I mean, and there's no metal on it, and you know, but let's face it, you know, the one thing that all 3 of these have in common is they're all made in China. All 3 of them are made in China. And we use a lot of things from China, but you know, there's no real high quality that we can see here, but one thing about it is, the thing I'm impressed with is it works. Now, anybody that's been reloading for any amount of time at all will tell you that, you know, their scales are kind of wonky. They can't seem to make up their mind. I'm gonna place these here where you can see them, because I'm gonna turn all these on, and we're gonna find out, you know, if the one thing that we want to see here, I'm not going to really get into the weeds too much on these scales. Most of you know that this is the Frankfurt Arsenal scale. That's very common, and this is the very common digital Lyman scale. And we have frustrations with all of these types of scales. And you know, even on some of the more expensive scales that are $100 and more, are fussy. So just so you'll know what this scale is, I'll put a link to it. I'll put a link to these scales in the description, so you'll be able to look them up and read about them, or whatever you want to do, or buy one. This is the scale right here from on Amazon. This is it. Okay, so it's the Way Owl. I can't. That's about the best pronunciation you're gonna get out of me. But you know, so let's just take a look at these scales. One of the things that we're always very frustrated with is these scales can't keep up. We will sprinkle some powder into the. So I'm kind of setting up the scenario here, okay, on why we get frustrated. But you know, whether you're using, you know, your trickler, you know, and you're trickling powder in, or if you're, you know, not as fussy and you trickle it in by hand, you know, with your scoop, you know, what ends up happening sometimes, or a lot of times, is we end up the scale, you know, kind of jumps up, you know, 2/10 of a grain instead of going to the next tenth of a grain. You know, you'll be at, you know, if you're trying to reach 44.5 grains, you'll hit 4.7 grains before you hit 4.6 grains, and vice versa. You know, I mean, the scale, you know, is slow to think about what's going in the pan, and it's frustrating to us. You know, every time we trickle some powder in here, you know, and then what you'll have is you'll have the powder you'll have the powder in the pan, and you got it set at 4.5 where you want it, and by the time you pick the pan up to dump it in your funnel, it's already at a different number. It's at back to 4.4 or 4.6 or something like that. We're trying to reach 4.5, and you know, you're trickling powder in, and all of a sudden, you know, instead of hitting 4.5 from 4.4, you're at 4.6 all of a sudden, and that's very aggravating for us. And anytime we hear about a scale that's this inexpensive that can solve some of these issues for us, we really have to take note of it. So let's just quickly look, and I just want you to see these scales. So let's go ahead and turn them all on. These are there's nothing really to mention here. You know, you can look the scale up and read about it. I don't want to get into, you know, what the functions are, because this is how we use them. I'm going to use them how everybody uses them. Alright, these are all calibrated scales. I'm going to turn them all on, and I'm going to, this is the pan that I'm going to, well, if I'm going to use the trickler, I'm better off using this one. I just glued a quarter to the bottom of it just because it's so lightweight, this plastic one, but it works good for trickling because you can reach over like that. So there, and so we'll just use that pan. So here we go. We're just going to tear these out. All right, tear it out to 0. I'm going to tear this. I'll tell you what, we'll do. We'll just do one at a time. We'll start out with using this pan right here. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a powder charge in it. It don't really matter what the weight is. Alright. Alright. 10.2 grains of 4227. IMR 4227. This is a short extruded powder. It meters extremely well, and it's easy, you know, to pick up on the trickler and all that. So I'm not using any kind of tricky powders either. Alright, so we're at 10.2. Let's just say we want to go to 10.3. We want to go to 10.3. So there it is. Oh, see, I spun that thing around. I shouldn't have done that. Let's just say we're going 10.5. That makes it even anyway. Alright, we're at 10.5. Okay, now let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing on this scale. Oh, I didn't. Alright. I'm going to try to do this without being confusing. Sorry. Let's tear that out. What we're looking for is we want to see if the scale can think fast enough. There we go. We'll just put okay, we got 10.5 grains in there, and we'll want to trickle some in. Oh, 10.5. Okay, that worked good. That worked good. So now let's do this. Let's go to 10.6 with it. I'm gonna move this where you can see it. You can see that, I think. See, it's already at 10.6, and all I did was move the thing. Now it's at 10.5. This is the problem that I have with these scales. Alright, let's just lift it up and set it back down. 10.4. Let's set it back down. 10.5. You see what I'm saying? This happens all the time. So now let's go to 10.6. 10.6. Alright, let's lift it up and set it back down. Alright, we're still there. I'm going to set some weight on it and lift it off. Alright, we're still there. That's good. So it's settled down. So let's go to 10.7. Alright, we passed 10.7. We're at 10.8. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, now I'm not going to go over this over and over again because most of you know exactly what I'm doing here and what I'm talking about. This thing don't catch up fast enough and it fluctuates back and forth. Let's put a little bit of weight on here. 10.8. Lift it up. Alright, so it's dead set on 10.8. Okay, so it made up its mind. That's good. Let's just go to 10.9. Alright, now it's a little slow coming up with it, but it did good that time. But now we're at 10.10, or I'm 10.10. It is 10.10. It's 11. You guys can just stop laughing over there now. Alright, so now let's just go back over here. Right now we're just picking on 2 scales here. Well, let's pour that out. We'll just turn this on, and of course it's going to be teared out. Make sure there's absolutely nothing in here. We're at 0, and we'll go ahead and just trickle some in. All right, we're at 1, 2, 3/10, 4/10. See how fast it's thinking though? 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. See, I can just keep turning this and get these numbers. It's going to read exactly what I'm doing. It's going to think fast and tell me what's on the scale. Now let's just do the same thing. Let's just do the same thing over here. We'll tear this out again, make sure. Just do the same thing. Right now we're playing with these 2 scales. We'll throw the other one in here in a second. Okay, look at there. It never did give me 1 or 2/10. It just finally catches up and gives me 3. Let's go to 4. We skipped 4 and went right to 5. It couldn't think fast enough to give me 4. it didn't give me, you see how it just keeps skipping? Alright, right now we're at 8. Alright, now we went to 9. And 1.1. See, it can't think enough and think fast enough. So that's a problem for us, because it's very frustrating, because it takes us so long. As we trickle some in, it skips the next tenth, and or it fluctuates back and forth like you've seen. So now let's go to here on the Lyman. We'll do this right here first. We'll just put a charge of powder in here. We're at 10.3 grains, and let's move it up. Alright, we're at 10.4. 10.5, doing good. 6. I turned that one fast and it still caught on. Okay, give me 8 and 9. I was a little fast on it. I'll give it that. Yeah, we're at 11. So far, this one's doing good. In the past, it's not been that easy. So now let's start empty. How long is it going to take before it starts to think that something's on the scale? It still hasn't read anything yet. It has not given me a number. Wow. See, it can't tell that it's being loaded down. And you see my finger twisting. It can't, there we go, up. And now it gives me 2. Well, that's not right. That's actually what's in there, 1.9 grains. Let's see if that's zeroed out. Alright, see that? It was zeroed out, 1.9 grains, and this wasn't even reading it yet. And I'm not going to go through this demonstration for long here, but I wanted to demonstrate some of this because it's exactly the same stuff that a lot of you already know, and for a lot of folks, they're out there, they're looking for a scale, and they can't pay a lot of money for one, or don't want to pay a lot of money for one, and want to know what's out there that you don't have to spend a lot of money for, that actually just works. Now, I've used the heck out of this thing, and I've been frustrated with it, but it's better than some of the other ones that I've used. I hardly ever use this one just because I've had the worst luck with it. So I'm not going to continue this charade, of you see what's going on. We'll go back, we'll start this one up again, from an empty pan, and see what it gives us. 1, 2, 3. You see how fast this thinks? This one thinks really fast, so it kind of keeps up with you. So after you get to the number that you want to be at, you're just done. It's not going to keep floating back and forth. Now it might if it's right there at the cusp, and that's okay, because that just tells you that which one do you want, and you can just add a couple more grains of powder, a couple more sprinkles, or take a couple of sprinkles out. But these, you can be sitting here with this thing, and it'll just change numbers like it's just doing right now. You see it? It just changed 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, so this is my review of 3 cheapo digital scales. Alright, now this one just comes with, you know, your weight to calibrate it with, and a pair of cheapo tweezers and a stupid little dish like this that nobody would ever want to use. But the scale is, even this thing just lifts right off of it. That little thing does. See, just sits inside this hole. And I'm not sure if this design, this type of scale design that they have right there, is just less sensitive than these pressure plates are. I'm not sure, but I know one thing for sure. I've been using this now for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3, and I like it. Under $20 on Amazon. It's called Wahoo or Way-Ow, whatever you want to call it, baby. That's it. That's the box that it comes in right there. And I can't help but to do a review, you know, and be honest with you, I purposely left all 3 of these on my bench for a couple of weeks. I just left them on my bench because what you find yourself doing is you find yourself gravitating towards the one that you like the best. And I'm telling you, this is the first one that I grab. Subconsciously, I go for this one. So there's my review, and you know, 3 cheap digital scales, and I'm telling you, there's anybody will tell you that you can spend $100, $150, $200, and you'll find scales that are fussy, just fussy. They don't start reading like they should immediately, or the numbers fluctuate back and forth. Now, understood, if there's any kind of breeze in the room and that kind of thing, that's another one. This scale has not given me a bit of trouble, even when there's, you know, that slight little breeze or talking into it. But it's funny, I've also tested this with my Lyman balance beam scale, and that scale don't lie about nothing, and this thing is just right on. So where these will, you know, they don't give you dangerous numbers usually, anything like that, you know, to throw you off, but they can be out there. There it is, YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.